Film Sadak 2 has been in the news for all the wrong reasons since its first look came out. With the massive backlash that it got due to the debates taking place around the film industry, I only wondered how this will impact the storytelling objectively. I thought of watching this Mahesh Bhatt directed film independent from the noise surrounding it, and it's shocking that my experience turned out to be way worse than I expected. Sadak 2 is the sequel of the 1991 film Sadak, but has no business really being its sequel. Other than the recurring character of Ravi Kishore Verma played by Sanjay Dutt, besides the recall value of the franchise, it is a completely independent story. Ravi is an insomniac and grieves the loss of his wife, attempting to end his life almost every day, only to see Arya played by Alia Bhatt appearing at his business doorstep, instructing Ravi that she made a booking with his late wife and is in need of his services. This leads to both of them going on a life-altering journey to the Kailash Mountain, where slowly the world where she is running away from, a cult-like organization that is suppressing her voice and wants her eliminated, gets fleshed out even more, exposing deep, dark secrets of origin stories and motivations. How Ravi, grieving with his loss, finally finds a purpose in his life, and Arya aims to expose the shady practices of individuals that take advantage of blind faith of the masses like a business, is the basic premise of Sadak 2. Here's me telling you the good and bad aspects of the film so that you guys can ultimately decide whether this movie is worth your time or money or not. The good. Music independently. Like any Vishesh Films production, the music of the film is something that I found extremely impressive. The sad reality of its integration in the movie is that I prefer it independently. The songs of the film are presented at abrupt plot points and only stretch the narrative rather than lending impact to the storyline. Tumse Hi and Ishq Kamal, composed by Ankit Tiwari and Sunil Jeet, respectively stand out from the album. Shukriya, a song composed by Jeet Ganguly, and its picturization is one of the most unintentionally funny sequences of the movie. The out-of-nowhere singing of the main cast while the story is in the thick of things definitely gave glimpses of why Mahesh Bhatt and his visual treatment is still stuck in the 90s. Right Vessel's horrible story. I have to confess that I actually felt bad for the actors in the film, because no matter what the debates carry on around the film industry, the main cast are proven actors who showcase their worth as performers in several films. It is the lackluster and bizarre writing of the film that makes the talent reach a helpless state where no matter how earnest their performances may be, it can't salvage the weak script of the film. Even though Alia Bhatt's shrill and loud dialogue delivery brought me a near aneurysm, something I've never seen in her performance, something that I will expand on later, there are several emotional moments where Bhatt stands out as a superior performer. Aditya Roy Kapur sadly is a mere spectator in this film, having little to do and mostly being reactionary to the situations. Sanjay Dutt showcases the brooding man with ease and conviction, but the written material makes the storyline an absolute slogfest. The only actors from the creepy cult-like organization that put forth a solid performance or even an impression include Jishu Sen Gupta and Priyanka Bose, whose characters I can't really dwell deeper on. The bad. Flashback to the 90s. The last movie that Mahesh Bhatt directed was the 1999 film Kartoos, and even though he may have produced several movies since then, his directorial treatment still seems to be stuck in the 90s. Sadak 2 is no way a fresh take at expanding the franchise, but is actually a rehashed version. Or let's be honest, it's actually a way worse addition to the same template. A troubled protagonist, a path of vengeance and revenge, and villains presented as caricatures rather than real people. Makrand Deshpande, despite being a phenomenal actor, does not possess an iota of the evil and wickedness that Sadashiv Amrapurkar presented, and that all has to do with the underwhelming and bizarre writing by Mahesh Bhatt and Sumitra Sen Gupta. Amateur screenplay. One of the worst aspects of the film is that it doesn't even try to expand the universe of the franchise. In order to draw parallels with the first film, it just uses frames from the movie for recall value. The characteristics or the world they live in seem to be independent from whatever happened in 1991. The constant flashbacks to the original Sadak as Ravi reminisces is lazy screenplay at its finest. The screenplay even suffers from the fact that it is fleshed out in such a manner that you can see the turn of events from a mile away. Often the events in the future being narrated by the characters themselves, going into flashbacks to provide context to origin stories rather than presenting an effective storytelling tool required for thrillers that can provide hints in regular intervals in a non-chronological format. The movie possesses no thrills or shocks in its second half. The big reveals are fleshed out in the first half, leaving absolutely nothing for when the story progresses. dated and misinformed treatment. One aspect of the film that I found extremely problematic was the portrayal of mental health in this movie. It seems like Mahesh Bhatt's treatment of mental health conditions is still stuck in the dark ages, where either people are normal or they are madmen. Either they function normally in society or they have to be admitted to mental hospitals. There seems to be no in-between for the creator. A character raises their voice and one reacts, mental hospital mein bharti ho jao. One character threatens another one stating, wo log tumhe sui lagayenge. These dialogues not only made me cringe but extremely uncomfortable that the same portrayals that we speak about in the Matlab Kuch Bhi episodes are being presented in 2020. In one of the sequences, a character threatens to cut herself, only leading to a temper tantrum because she wanted her demands to be met. One character is showcased to be harming himself in a public bar. Reason? He's a drug addict. Characters constantly listen to voices in this film, and this just reminded me of maybe, just maybe, the director needed to revise the fact that there is a spectrum of people with conditions rather than a range of absolutes where either you're crazy or you're not. The potential. The film's intended goal was actually to showcase how many cult-like organizations prey on the weak and vulnerable, and how individuals grateful for their support when they are down and out are swayed by even their most disastrous and problematic ideals. It is also the concept of dealing with loss and finally finding a purpose in life, even if it is vicariously through another person's eyes. The problem is that the movie regarding both the topics does not even scratch the surface. When I think of protagonists dealing with loss, which have been so impactful, I get reminded of the South Korean thrillers like I Saw the Devil and The Man from Nowhere. Human stories grounded in reality and gut-wrenchingly painful. When you think of several films that are focused on cult-like organizations and their parasitic ways of taking advantage of the weak and vulnerable, like The Master or even the creepy Midsommar, it completely transports you and makes you deeply empathetic of the human trauma and the need to break free. Sadak 2 is an embarrassment honestly in fleshing out such topics. It's rather comical too. Unintentionally funny. The film is stuck in the 90s, so much so that its writing will make you burst out laughing. Alia's first lines going, "Hi mommy," only gave me a glimpse of the train wreck I was in store for. And this is with no disrespect to the actors, but the unintentionally funny writing that makes the scenario worse. The film made me also think that technically it has no business being called Sadak 2. Upar wala hamare saath hai, is Sadak pe, the context to the location actually really doesn't matter, is what I felt when Alia shouted these dialogues. Shouting is an understatement, by the way. Gulshan Grover lends absolutely nothing in this film. If the writing couldn't get any worse, the dude's name is Dilip Hath Kata. Yup. You guessed it right, he doesn't have a hand. In one sequence, the barn owl is instructed to attack the villain. Ja Kumkaran or Dikha Apna Kamal. It gave me flashbacks to Maine Pyar Kiya, the path to revenge for the pigeon. At least the pigeon had an arc and his trauma was fleshed out. It was justified then. One of the characters goes on a rant to talk about his evil ways, only to say, let's get to the point. My sentiment exactly. As I felt exhausted in this drag of a film, Alia's character in one instance mockingly states, "Kamal kar diya apne daddy." Truer words were not said. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about the movie. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.